What up, vlog? Just did a workout. Anyway, one of the more interesting jam sessions I've had in a while is with the uber talented Big K.R.I.T. If you haven't listened to his new double album, go check it. Hope you guys are doing super well on this holiday weekend and getting geared up for that December crunch. Check it, watch it. Thank you so much for being subscribed. Actually, a lot of you aren't. Subscribe now if you're not.
Yo.
How are you?
How are you, brother?
Real pleasure.
Same you.
How are you, my man?
Doing good.
Yeah, real pleasure.
Man.
Hey, how are you?
Yes, great, nice to meet you.
Such a pleasure. How you doing?
Great, man, great.
Good man.
Yeah.
It's sick. I come from. What's up, man? How you doing?
K.R.I.T.
K.R.I.T.
Nice to meet you.
Real pleasure. How are you? Good. How you doing, my man? What's up, my man? We got WWF belts up here.
How you doing? Sean Marshall. Pleasure
Such a
to meet
pleasure,
you.
man. Gary
Yeah.
Vaynerchuk. How are you?
Pleasure to meet you, Gary.
How are things?
Yeah.
Thank you, my man.
Room, no?
This is the room.
I'm like, bro. Oh, man, I respect it, bro.
How you doing?
I'm good, brother.
Good, man.
Excited.
It's a real pleasure to meet you. I've been looking forward to it.
Thank you. Same to you.
Yeah, man. How's life?
Great. Hey, man, just obviously, not only the album, but just being back out and moving around and seeing people I ain't seen in years. It's more like a family reunion kind of thing. And everybody's grown and changed and went through stuff, and it's just like catching back up. And it's like that, man, I'm glad you're back kind of thing.
It's a good feeling, right?
Oh, man, it's refreshing. It's refreshing to be out of the studio and just be living.
How long were you in studio?
I worked on it for 2 hours. I mean, two years. 2
Yeah,
years
Jesus.
I lived and I just lived the album. And so once it came, when I turned it in and gave it to my manager Dutch, it was hard for me to let go of the fact I didn't have anything to do at the moment because I was so used to.
It felt awkward, right?
Definitely. Calling him like, bro, so what you need me to do? He's like, bro, you don't have to do shit. It's okay, bro. It's good.
Where do you live?
In Atlanta. Yeah, I'm in Atlanta, and yeah, man, this is different. This is fun. You know?
Good for you.
Yeah, brother. Yeah.
How long are you in New York?
Oh, well, we moving around like to Thursday.
Got a lot of promotion and all that kind of stuff.
Making it happen. Right. Yeah, but see, trying to eat better, not doing too much, lost some weight. I can make the runs. We ain't tripping.
I get it.
Yeah, we can make the runs. Look, let me tell you. Now, mind you, right? I know you always on the move, on the go.
Yep.
So, bro, sleep. Like how often? Like when
My man, sleep is important. I'm not worried about how many hours people sleep. I'm worried about what they're doing when they're awake. I'm trying to get 6, 7, 8 hours. Like the body is not joking around. Like I got a little bit of I was just complaining. I'm going to Australia next week for 2 days and I'm only sleeping 2 hours. I don't know what my assistant was thinking, but in general, like I get scared when people think the whole hustle mantra that I like to push is about not sleeping.
Yeah.
Because like I'm trying to talk more about it. That's why I have this like good line. Like I'm not worried about what you do when you sleep. I'm worried about what you do when you are awake.
Yeah.
Just so people get it.
Yeah.
But yeah, to me it's when you're awake.
Okay.
It's those 18 hours that really, really matter.
Okay.
Because people are just wasting their at bat.
Man. Hey, I like that. You get on deck, you wait, you trying to get your opportunity, and you too tired to hit the goddamn.
100%. And then you prefer to sit and dwell and complain. And like people just come up with a million reasons why not to do. Right?
Man.
Do you know Prince worked as a janitor for studio time? Do you know that?
Did not know that.
That to me gets me
Wow.
fired the fuck up because I don't know, I assume you get plenty of this too in DM and all this, but like obviously since I just get so many kids who wanna be you.
Yeah.
And they're like, and a lot of them don't have much, and I'm like, work at Chick-fil-A, save your money, go in the studio.
Exactly.
Like, I mean, like, I don't know, like, but like, what do you want me to tell you?
Yeah. Or become a hybrid and don't just do one thing in your field.
Well, that's that next, and then what's even crazier actually is the shit you can now do that doesn't even need studio time. I mean, just like, right? It's not what you and I grew up with, right?
Yeah.
I mean, the technology is you know what this
I
is?
know what a studio.
This is a studio. That's exactly what it is. It's just suffocating out excuses.
Oh my God.
You know, right?
Yeah, you're right.
So what's going on with your guys' team? Like how do, obviously I know you guys have enough context for us. I've seen different outreaches. We've talked,
Yeah.
I've watched, we've talked. Listen, is there anything that since we got time together, is there anything that stands out that I can answer, I can help with? Is there anything we could do? And please, go ahead. And as the person that probably has the most context on both sides, feel free.
Yeah.
So real quick, right?
You got some new cool shoes, huh?
Hey,
They're always like, oh,
Yo, real fast. So when I first started working,
I know exactly what you're about to say.
He was just telling me that interview we did messed up his whole album.
studio.
We had to turn the
Crain
volume
was
down
here.
to do the interview, and then they bounced the album and it was too soft, and everyone was like, "Why is it so soft? I need to turn my headphones all the way up."
everybody's wondering why I dropped K.R.I.T was here and it's so low in the car. But when he walked in, we pushed the master fader down, and so we could do the album.
That's
We bounced
amazing.
that shit. And I told him, yo, you're the reason.
That's amazing.
I want
That's
everybody
amazing.
in the world. I believe in my music being loud as shit, knocking like that. Might be the reason why I make the sub loud as shit now.
Oh, yeah.
It's kind of inch louder because of
It's
you.
like,
But the crazy thing is that's like 2010, right? And then he's like on Def Jam doing his thing, and now he's off Def Jam, independent, doing his thing independently, and he's at like this cool position, I feel.
Thank you.
Because in the year 2017, he has all the fans, he has all the attention, he knows the value of attention, and he knows the value of like shaking hands, being face to face.
Well,
But he
I mean,
doesn't
in
have
the
the
2
label
second,
control.
some people just are naturally charismatic and like people. And that's the biggest fucking advantage if you have that.
Being human, yeah.
And he's one of the smarter musicians we've met with. So
Wow,
like
thank you.
musically,
Wow.
well, it's the truth. So like musically,
He says that to everybody, don't worry.
Yeah, okay. I'm about to say,
Just trying to help you
gonna
here.
get some calls. Like,
I'm gonna make a highlight reel of every meeting we have. It's just the same thing. Go ahead. From your, I know you well enough to know from what angle? Because I know your next follow up is
musically.
Yes.
So like if you get like famous
Musically.
jazz musician gonna listen to his album, he's gonna be like, wow. You
From
know
a
what
music-
mean?
I understand.
And also like lyrically.
Because I'm
touches
funny.
your soul.
Like as a person that listens to music, and this is the reason I love hip hop.
Yeah.
It's less about production and music and beats. It is. I mean, it's so much more about the words.
Yeah.
Because I just resonate with it. Because I'm competitive. I came up with not much. To me, my media empire looks a lot more like slinging, discs from the back of a truck, and that's why that's why I resonate with it. So every time, like the music part's always funny to me because I never want to front and be like, oh yeah, I don't really know.
Okay.
Like I love Metro Boomin, like him,
Yeah.
but to understand his craft versus somebody who writes, there's a big disconnect for me.
Okay.
I don't understand music. I like that
respect it.
that's just not what I do.
Right.
Like telling you how to make sure every single esports kid on earth fucks with you, that I understand.
Okay.
Making sure that every Latino 14-year-old guy fucks with you so that in 10 years when they're the majority of the US market, that I can tell you.
Okay.
How to hack Singapore to when you go over there and you're like the number one, that I understand.
Okay.
But understanding when people are like that bass, I'm like, yeah, that bass. Like I don't understand that.
Right.
I mean, I understand it, but I don't understand it.
Yeah.
It doesn't go through me like that.
Yeah. I dig it, but I think to some degree.
How about why do you think that? Did you grow up in a musical family?
Oh man, as far as being around like my parents and my grandmother and them playing different music.
Always.
Like my grandmother
It's always
playing,
the answer.
Obviously gospel, all in blues, and my dad playing Scarface, and I'm getting that from him, and my mom is playing Whitney Houston. So I got all those things, and then I sought out music on my own. And then we talking about old school records and people I like, and discovering Curtis Mayfield and Bobby Womack, and Willie Hutch, and that's how I got the blend of.
And what about new? And what about so that's classic. And so what about new? Like when you were, how old are you?
I'm 31.
You look good.
Thank you. Hey, I'm trying. I grew the hair out.
That's what helped you?
I'm younger now than I did when I was
I get it.
21.
D Wade the other day I was watching the Knicks game. I was like, oh, D Wade, the haircut looks good. I like that. Growing out the hair, right? He looks younger. I was like, that's good for you,
You can still get it. Are you still good?
Yeah, you're still good. But so 31. So how about when you were growing up? Who were the new guys that like Scarface is obviously more like
Scarface, but no, Scarface.
But he was already even a generation older, like
Pop, Biggie, UGK, Outkast, 3 6 Mafia, Project Pat.
Yeah, the whole LA Reid Atlanta thing was just so game changing.
Yeah,
it was like Motown all over again.
It was crazy, man. And obviously, talking about Snoop and people like that.
Yeah, of course.
But the beauty of growing up in a small town, because I'm from Mississippi, Meridian, Mississippi, is that radio played the top 10 records from everywhere, but where I was from. So I got a good understanding of East Coast and West Coast and what that feels like, and tempos, and how that music, sounded. So when it came time to get features and work with people, I understood the science of what it what made sense for people. Right. So that was a benefit of people not playing music from where I was from.
So being independent, the release here, direct to consumer, and then what?
Man,
like
we keep pushing.
Digital?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And major artists are showing a lot of support. Like
I saw.
Really doing well. So.
Go ahead.
Branding, right?
Yeah.
I spent so long with, because I was always raised as you let someone else toot your horn. You don't do it yourself.
Humility.
Right?
And so this new world.
Yeah, and I run into a thing where, and he'll tell you, he's like, brother, you need to tweet something, you need to IG. Like,
and it's not your natural state. Let me tell you, as somebody who goes the complete other way, and peacocks,
Yeah.
It's probably the way you feel about your music, man. I feel so good about what I'm saying that I'm willing to take the heat.
Okay.
You know how many people don't put out music because they don't want to take the heat? Most of them. So you need to not talk when he wants you to because it's smart strategy. You need to find a way to, when you feel something, to talk.
Okay.
Because if you can convert it in the way you think about music, the reason I'm putting out so much shit is I got something to say.
Yeah. I mean, talking with you and talking with everybody in this room, that's
so listen,
easy,
maybe you take the strategy that I took. Listen, if you did a fucking Instagram story right now and said, I'm taking an intern to be my videographer, I'm not gonna pay you shit, and you get to follow me around and make videos and put it out, yeah, fucking 10,000 people raising their hand. You know how many people would rip their arm off that love you more than life to do that? And you'll be like, you'll learn and this and that, you should do that. I can see that you're comfortable in this kind of environment. I thought this was gonna be the hardest thing I ever did, because I was like 2 years ago when I decided to film everything I did, I'm like, that's some douchey ass shit, right? Like I was like how am I gonna explain that, But I just knew it was right, and that's what, listen, it's all about putting players in a position to succeed, right? In music and sports and business, like when somebody wants to become a producer because they just want to be a producer, but they're really a writer, it gets fucked up. You got to do your thing. If it's not your thing to self-start and tweet and put up on Instagram, then build around you. I'm too busy. I'm running a big ass company, so I need them following me around and filming. So I surrounded myself with people, just like you've got people around you that can do other things. You need somebody collecting content. You're doing a lot of interesting shit. I mean, do you know how fucking amazing it would be right now to put out a 47-minute documentary on Facebook of those 2 years? Short-haired K.R.I.T. But like all this magic lost in time. Like in the world that I live in, my dome, imagine all those videos we could be watching of when Pac and Biggie were friends.
Oh my God.
Like, you know how much fun this is? My man, you and I are gonna sit down and eat some food in 13 years and pull up our phone or whatever and watch this.
When I still had the hair.
That's amazing. So I call it documenting versus creating. You're an artist. So I imagine through your head when you're putting out a tweet, you're probably putting that extra layer.
God. I done sent it to I done sent it to him or sent it to my girl and be like, yo, can I say something? Is this okay? Like, I go through
Overthinking it from an artistic level.
I can't help it.
I respect that, and I don't want you to help it, but I want to create a framework that allows you to like put out, and by the way, let me go on a real crazy left turn on you. You're just gonna like having this when you're an old man because your kids are gonna be able to watch it.
It's real.
Super real, and I don't even want to get into the way I think about shit, which AI and virtual reality, like in the world that I live in, my kids, my great-great-grandkids, long after I'm gone, are gonna sell this meeting, sell it, as virtual reality, and they're gonna be actually sitting right there,
Man.
because they think you're cool, because they think I'm cool, because I'm their great grandpappy, and they're gonna sell it. Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
But I promise you, the guy that drew Batman never thought in 70 years there's gonna be billion-dollar movies made of, like, you can't project that far out.
Right.
And so you gotta.
But I can, a little bit,
Yeah.
right?
You gotta
So
go the distance.
documenting versus creating, don't, anything that creates friction for you, he already knows. You're not gonna do it. So you're just gonna be,
Yeah.
so hack.
Okay.
I think it's this. I think you guys do some sort of like outreach, like one post, and then
That's what's up.
people like look at it and be like, interview 3 kids, feel good about them, make sure it's not just star fucking, and they're like,
Yeah.
you know?
Right.
That's what we do. Like, we get thousands of entries every time we got a new person, and we vet, you know, and it will work for you, man.
Thank you,
Think about how much
man.
fun it's gonna be for them. Imagine you're a K.R.I.T fan and like now you're on tour. Now you just feel like you're living the dream
And we create those experiences all the time.
Yeah, and we just don't.
every day. And there's interesting ones. This is an unusual one.
Yeah.
Then there's on stage. Then there's another unusual one. Then there's the moment where you're just walking down the street and somebody tells you this song did this for them, captured.
Yeah.
And you decide to put that on Instagram because you thought something. And then you start getting used to it. And then different shits. And then you start creating. Then you start off the interaction, you start looking at the camera and making a point for, you know, you start getting feedback. Your social media grows because of this, and then people are leaving comments and you're getting that feedback, and it just, you know,
Yeah.
right?
No,
it's counterpunching.
Yeah.
You start reacting.
You know, it's always it's been a difficult thing and a challenge. I mean, even early on, and I
Did people think you waited too long?
No, on the low, but oddly enough,
What do
I
you
was
think,
scared.
Boyd?
I was
What do you mean,
scared
for the
Like,
album?
for the
yeah, like
album.
what, like 2 years is like, you know, in a world where people are putting out mixtape, like,
I
We
can
just
tell
now
you, I can
found
tell
out.
you, his
Yeah.
fans were consistently asking.
Yeah,
"Where's
it got
the
to the point where
Where's the music?
pictures,
Where's the music?"
don't post no pictures, G.
We don't, you know, we knew that a project was coming, so we knew the music was coming. We didn't post on purpose, but it was a consistent ask.
And so-
where you at? Where you at? Where you at?
Yeah.
So, yeah, definitely.
And music
People
changes
wait.
so much.
So
in
fast.
2 years, but the beauty.
that's
of
always,
working
to be very frank, that's the shit that always scares me.
Yeah.
Because you get crippled by that, I mean,
I
you know, I'm older, that Dre project, like that was like, it never happened for that, you know, like, it never happened. You know, I was like, and this is pre-internet back in the kind of day, like early internet, I was like, when's it coming? Went through all of like, went through life. Like, you know?
Oh my God.
And to that point, man, some of the stuff that was in your head
Yeah.
2 years ago, like, shit does
But
change
it
quick.
gave me the opportunity though to do as much as I wanted to a song. Right?
Good for
Those
you.
songs on it, I'm like, I wish I would have done that.
Good.
Both of my
You
albums,
needed to do that.
I needed both of the albums.
And do you think that's always how you're gonna need it, or do you think now that you did it this way, it gives you like, okay, did it that way once, you know, like?
No, I think now I can create like this now because the 2 years was figuring out how to work with musicians, how to get out of my comfort zone, like how to not record in my house the whole time. I get to go to other studios to get creative criticism and not take it so personally that I don't want to do the song anymore. Like, right? So I needed that, and so now going into the next one is gonna be like we weren't wrong, and that's the first thing that I realized. Like, man, at a time when people were telling me people don't want to hear that conscious shit, bro, they just want something for the radio, and I'm like, bro, but I got this record that's about life and I wasn't wrong. Like, no, people are hurting. It's a human thing. We superheroes when we go to work, but when we by ourselves, we're trying to figure it out. And to put all that in an album and to make music like that is very necessary. And there's a space for me.
Good for you, man.
And, yeah, and so
As long as you understand your
I
process,
get it,
man.
Yeah, I get it now. It's I'm happy making music and there's no restrictions. And I'm independent, which makes it
Crazy
easier.
cool. Yeah.
And I was just telling K.R.I.T earlier, like I was listening to this song or that song, and it really touched me. And that's why, to answer your question too, an artist like him doesn't get hurt too hard waiting a long time because the music is so real. It's not like catchy or vibey or like of the moment. Like his music is touching your heart.
Instead of me rapping just to be rapping so you learn these words, well, man,
I'm on it. Yeah, hell yeah. Thank you, my man.
Got you. It's basically me telling you about my life in transparency. You know, and which is easier for me to do that sometimes, and again, like with the camera, like music is my therapy. And so when I'm dropping these songs, it's literally forgetting that, like, the moment that I wrote it, I was going through something and putting that out there for the world, hoping somebody relates.
Are you thinking about the thing that I'm a big thing in me in advertising while we popped was I think the market's always right. And I mean 100%.
Wow. Okay.
I've never sat in the moment of my career on anything I've done, from my dad's liquor business to me being a public persona. If it didn't work, they were right, I was wrong. And as I've spent a lot more time with artists, and I don't mean just hip hop artists, I mean the 300 people in my creative department, my team, artists, the ego stops them from the humility that becomes their strength. So one thing I've been really interested in is the notion of like sitting and listening to albums, right? And like, and then understanding like they want one of the songs to be the single because it's the one that meant the most. I do it too. There's some shit I talk about. Patience. I want more than life for all these 30-year-old and unders to have patience because they can win. You know, they can win if they're not shortcutting. You know, true confidence. Like, why do you need things? Oh, because you're insecure and you want to get girls with it, or you want to show somebody that you made it. That insecurity stops you from really getting there, right? Yeah. So there's things I'm passionate about. So when I make content around that, I'm like, I hope this goes. And when it doesn't, I'm fine with it. I just collect it. So you're talking about something with A Boogie that I thought was interesting and something I've been thinking a lot about as we continue to have these meetings. I'm trying to help bring value, is the notion of the single. So this comes out. Okay. I'm dying to know the meetings of this crew and definitely dying to know what's going through your head for weeks of like, what's gonna be the single? And I don't know if that's how you think about it, but damn, 90%, 95%, maybe 100%, and definitely if you got a label.
Yeah,
like,
we don't.
I know you don't. Right. Definitely if you do, they're picking what's the single, right? Yeah. But even as an artist, like, I still think everybody's got a favorite child.
Yeah.
Yeah,
like,
I don't know if it's so much picking the singles more as, I mean, yes, you have lead singles, absolutely.
So let's just start with that for a minute. I'm fascinated by that in the environment we now live in. That made a lot of sense to me when radio play. Yeah. But that's, you know how some shit just gets carried over because that's the way it was?
Right.
I've just, and this is not a final thought, this is my brainstorm.
Right.
I think I know what the lead single is. The ones that they told us are the lead singles. Right. There's a way to harness the reality of the market.
Right.
And you have to have pure humility that does not come natural to anybody in the field of art.
Yeah. No, well, I
go ahead, please.
With his two singles, it was more, from an artistic standpoint.
That's what he was most passionate about.
You follow what I'm saying?
Of course. By the way, of course. There's only one of two things. There's the business people saying this one because it's gonna sell shit, and then there's the artist or the artistic people saying this is the one that means the most. I get that. I'm about the third one, which is the fucking market.
Right. So now we put those two out as a launching pad, but we put the project out on top of it. So now the market. Now, like 1999 is a single that's really coming back from the market.
I get it.
But we definitely, but that
of course I do.
In itself it wasn't what we put out, right?
And by the way, we all know that. Like that's happened for years for people's albums.
Yeah, but again, one being independent, this was the first time I was like, bro, this needs to be the first one. Everybody was like that.
Yeah, you've been wanting to scratch that itch. Yeah.
It wasn't the boardroom meeting and they was like, whoa, we.
But that hook is gonna work on radio. I get it. I get it.
And I know what you're talking about because
it's an interesting thing.
The idea of being an independent artist, or when you're underground and you're trying to figure out what your shit is jamming, and in your mind, and everybody's telling you it's better than what's on the radio, but you can't get on the radio. Yeah, it's like damn, but. People be like, man, I hate that song, but they find themselves listening to it and knowing it because it's on the radio.
Yeah.
You're trying to figure out who the hell is still wanting this song played. So you gotta.
There's something else I've been thinking about. I want to throw at you since the vibes I'm feeling. This is something you haven't heard this one yet for me.
Oh, let's go.
I've got one that I've been really, because deep down I wish I was a rapper, and then shit would be so much more fun. I would be fucking. I just wish I knew how to flow. I believe you. I actually weirdly think I'm gonna try to train myself into figuring it out because I've got it, but I don't have it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it got it.
It's here. It's coming out.
It's why I do what I do, and it works, and you see it. It's working in culture.
Right.
It's just not done through. Anyway, I'm dying to see your perspective on this. I have a concept that I haven't seen.
Okay.
Song comes out, album comes out, project comes out. Something pops. In movies, they come out with number 2 quick. You put out, right, Guardians of the Galaxy, you're like, what the fuck happened? It blows up in the theater, they're fucking in production on number 2 from the bat.
Oh yeah,
they know it's there.
just like Fast and Furious.
Right after.
Yeah.
So for me, again, back to lyrics.
Okay.
You write a song, it's about what you're going through with your girl, with your best friend, with somebody sick in your family, and it goes. Well, it's been some time in between you writing that and now it happening. To write the update and piggyback off the momentum is something I've never seen. There's something there. Song goes, it meant something. You know, a lot of stuff goes that doesn't mean something, but it meant something. The words.
So, quick question.
Yes, sir.
Would that not be considered the remix?
No, because
No.
remix is other people's ideas on top
Well,
of
it could be
the
your.
song.
It could be your idea.
Yeah.
The remix is some form of a collaboration that's building off the equity of the popularity. What I'm referring to, especially if you write,
Or you
is
sing a different song.
a different song,
Oh, okay.
but literally is like the name is like the follow-up or what happened or what.
know
Ready
that's
for this?
gonna come out,
Ready for
like,
this?
next week
Ready for
somebody's
this?
gonna do this shit.
I do believe that. I think right here, right now, we're creating a genre called "What Happened: and the name of the song,
Right.
the follow-up.
See,
Like that's interesting artistically.
it's also a little dangerous creatively, right? Because
Go ahead.
when the authenticity.
What's that?
What'd you
I
say?
think you did that 3 albums, like Reloaded, Revive. She did that like 3 albums.
Yeah, but he's
Yes,
like
but I'm
next
going.
week.
Yeah, exactly. I am. I'm saying. This is out 1999, and you write 2000, like or like something like there's something that. So what people don't realize is distribution's been commoditized. The process that Michael Jackson had to go through doesn't exist. You put this project out, and like to your point, something's popping. We're getting feedback back. Now, back to your point. Artistically, if you can't get the momentum to write the follow-up or the update, mazel tov.
Yeah.
But if you can, now you're breaking new ground. Like I think for hip hop, it could become there used to not be anything called the remix.
Right.
I'm old. I grew up, like, there was no remix. There isn't something called the follow-up or the update, but I think it can happen. The speed in which you can do things, that fucking excites, because I'm in it you have to understand who I am as a listener. I'm in it for the story.
Right. So yeah, that'd be dope.
Okay.
Right?
So how
Get your fan a lot.
the record?
So all right, but how do you keep it genuine though? That's the key, because what happens?
You know what? I'm not worried about you. I'll tell you why. Because I can already, we haven't spent a lot of, can I answer how you're gonna keep it genuine? You don't know any other options. That's why you asked the question. So honestly, if I was part of this crew, I'd be like, yo, 99's popping, or this song's popping, or that song's popping. You got something, you first of all, when it's your crew or you know your life.
Yeah.
If nothing's happened since you wrote that about the baby mama drama, or the grandpa, or the city, well, there's nothing to talk about.
Yeah.
But if there is,
Okay.
right? So one thing you'll love, it was the first thing I said to you, and this is where I'm connecting with you right now.
Okay.
I've never said anything I don't believe in.
Wow.
In my fucking life. So in a weird way, even though I'm such a businessman, I have that one attachment with artists. I've never said a damn fucking word I don't believe in. So like, there's been opportunities. Like I could be making a lot of money talking about some shit.
Yeah.
Like, so I get you. But if there's something to say, and take advantage of culture that we now live in, because people have not seen this white space that I'm seeing.
Alright.
Hey, I got the idea.
You do?
I got the idea.
Okay, good.
Okay.
Interesting, right? You know why I love that and why I pitched it to you?
Yeah.
Is because I'm feeling your vibe. That's art. Because now you're inventing some shit.
Yeah.
Now you're going over here and being like, yo, You know, like this is a whole new territory of thing. And as for a writer, that's incredible.
Yeah.
Because that flexibility to like, right? Back to what you said, sat on this for 2 years because I don't feel like I have to go back and say, and like I did it, right? But as you know, sometimes when you're telling a story, there's an update.
Always, yeah.
And so to me, for a lot of the stories I listen to every day, I'm like, oh, what happened? You know, with that girl that broke your heart. Or what happened with, you know, okay, it's been a year since grandpa died and he was your fucking North Star. Like, how you doing? Like, what about writing the fact that you visited the cemetery? Like what? Because it's stories.
Yeah.
There's something there.
Yeah.
Especially if something, to me it's that, something pops, and there's an actual story, get the fucking studio and get that out. I can see a tsunami.
That's surprising to like the fans.
Yeah, that's
giving them what they want.
Yeah.
That is what they want.
I mean, yeah, because the connection of, as far as like people, obviously, my life, I talk about it in my music and the understanding of such, right? And so
well, that's why
like,
it would work for you.
Yeah, it's like,
you're not just talking about like going to the club and having fun, which is great.
Yeah.
When you're telling life stories, life didn't stop.
Definitely didn't.
And this story might have been finished, but this story might be just starting. And if that song went, and you've got a couple more lines to add to the equation, you see where I'm going.
Yeah.
I see it. I'm looking through your. I'm looking deeply through his glasses, and I'm watching his eyes. This is interesting shit. I'm not fooling around here. This is something different.
That's fun.
You storyteller, right?
Go ahead. Drink one. Those are things that are like fucking $14. drink that dirty lemon. What's up, my man?
I was just saying, he's a storyteller, so.
That's what it is, man.
I love exactly what you're saying, because if you come up with a follow-up, your fans will be all in that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
So I get exactly what you're
man.
saying. That's dope.
That's crazy. That's gonna see, but now we done put it out there, and people go. Somebody's gonna. It's already done.
Now we're waiting
And
for
that
you to do it.
honestly, that to me is the best part. To your point, I'm gonna put it out because I don't want you to have the pressure of that. That's just what's fun. That's the zeitgeist, but that's real. And like you have an advantage in the way you communicate. To the point of like some people write things and they're trying to go backwards on saying some funny shit to hope it pops. Put some great beat on it. Let me make up a fucking word. And see if it can go. You're writing about your life.
Yeah, man.
And when you write about your life, you've got a big advantage for the model that I've been sitting on in my head.
That's crazy though.
It's interesting, right?
Alright, we gotta chop it up after this.
For sure.
Man. Yeah, I appreciate that. That's just all love. I mean, but because as a creator, and especially now, it's trying to be inspired and figure out a way to keep doing something new.
To me, I think the thing that you're gonna get to is you're gonna want to get to probably where I am creatively in marketing and communications, which is after you get good at your craft, after you scratched a couple of those itches, you wanna start inventing shit. And there's only so many ways you can invent within the box that you already know. You're trying to scratch that itch. I think that we haven't thought about music dimensionally enough to understand what the new distribution channels have awarded us. That's why when I talk about what I just said, it's a big idea. Because it's staying within the confines, but it's creating new territory that hasn't been there, much like a remix. Or like collaborations with a country star. Or an influencer who, like, there's just new little things that could never be done before, right? Like the music video. That was just like, there wasn't that in 1972.
And then all of a sudden.
Then there was. Then it became the art. Then there wasn't. Like, you know, and to me, that's what's so, but when I know who's somebody who's writing real shit, that is super interesting. A project that took 2 years to come out, a song that resonates, a truth that there is a follow-up story, not fabricated, that you can get generated about. And then it comes out 11 days later and everybody's been feeling that song and now you're telling them what happened, you're feeding them.
Wow, okay.
I bet you didn't think that was coming today.
No, he was like, yo, like, okay. I'm thinking to myself, like, studio time. Bro.
My man. Oh yeah, let's get this pictures too, right. All right, going vertical on this one. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope you loved it. Leave your 3 cents in the comments. Subscribe, tag homies, share this with everybody in hip hop that loves hip hop, because Crain and I chopped it up for real.